Hey, Gabriel Blake.
Hey, Gaybros Jose.
Where are we today?
We are back in our respective homes
Yeah.
after your week of exhaustive travel.
Yeah. After like those 3 hours that we saw each other that we used for recording and eating meat.
That made the best leftovers, by the way.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. Even the following day. Shout out to our not official sponsor. I wish that they were our sponsor, House of Prime Reef.
That was only my second time, both because of you.
And I love repeating that place. But in any case, like leaving the meat sweats on the side, what did we watch this week?
We watched, I didn't pull it up, the 1981 Stanley Kubrick classic, The Shining. It was either 80 or 81.
80, yeah.
80.
I don't know why I thought that he was actually older. But he's as old as I am.
Maybe it had a festival release earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's from May 23rd, 1980, according to this. But from those years. And I think that this was my pick. And the reason why I picked it is because a month ago, I actually rewatched with my boyfriend A Clockwork Orange. And I remember that we tend to speak pretty highly of Kubrick. And we always mention that we should record about more of the movies, like doing the exercise of just going through more of his stuff. And The Shining is a movie that I think that along Misery is the only good adaptation of any Stephen King book.
It's been a long time since I've seen Misery. I won't disagree with you. And what have we reviewed of Kubrick so far?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Did we do 2001?
Nope.
No, interesting.
Nope. 2001 is one that I would like at some point. I would like to actually record. So that was more or less like what was I actually interested in rewatching this. But as this was my pick, I guess that it's your turn for actually summarize what this movie is about.
Absolutely. So the plot of this is actually not that complicated. Jack Torrance is played by Jack Nicholson. Right? Okay. I always mess up his name. He's my Charlotte Gainsbourg. So Jack Nicholson, he is a married father of a young boy named Danny. What's his wife's name? Wendy. Okay. So Jack moved his family from Vermont to Colorado in order to pursue a writing career. He was previously a school teacher, but he makes it very clear that he only did that to make ends meet. So he finds a job at the Overlook Hotel, which is way up high in the mountains in Colorado. So high, in fact, it's above the tree line. And it's so remote that they have to shut down operations between October 30th and May 1st because the only way to get there is a 25-mile stretch of road, and it's way too costly to keep it plowed. So they take care of this enormous grand hotel for 5 months where they're basically stuck there. They have everything they need. And in an ominous scene, the manager of the hotel, the guy who seems to be in charge, who's hiring Jack Torrance, says, "Oh, you should be fine, but just so you know, about 10 years ago, somebody who was doing your job went crazy, murdered his wife and kids, and then killed himself."
Yep.
So good luck.
Yep. But he basically doesn't even just blink at that. Yeah, sure. Cool.
So everybody leaves except for the family, and Jack slowly loses his mind. Well, it's up for interpretation what actually happened. It seems like he's losing his mind. He starts to see things, have vision. He became sober after a moment where he injured his young son. But then he hallucinates that there's like all the alcohol he wants. He starts having conversations with people. The son, Danny, who seems to have some psychological issues, also starts having visions and like weird things that are, start happening.
Yeah.
The lead chef at the hotel before he leaves, he identified something in Danny, and he said, "Hey, you can talk to people with your mind. My grandma used to call that the shining."
The Shining. Yeah.
Don't worry if you see weird things. They're just like pictures of things that happened in the past.
They cannot touch you. Yeah.
So while Jack Torrance is going insane and all this kind of scary stuff is happening to the family, the head chef, who was wintering in Florida, realizes he needs to come back, and he's doing his best.
Stanley's in danger. Yeah.
Ultimately, he does get there, and there's kind of the movie finale. I guess it's been out for 40 years. We could probably spoil it, but Danny outsmarts his insane father, and even though Jack Torrance murders the head chef, the mom takes his they call it a snow cat, it's like a snowmobile, are able to...
But it's larger than a snowmobile, no?
Yeah, it's like a car. It's enclosed. There's like a heater. It's like a heavy-duty snow transport machine.
Yeah, like basically mixing up like a tank with a car and designed for crossing snowfields.
So we see the fact that Jack froze to death in the hotel's famous shrub maze.
Yeah.
But then the final shot, we see some historical pictures from the hotel's past, and there was a party there, a July 4th party in 1921, I think. And as the camera zooms in, we see that Jack Nicholson is now part of that crew.
Or maybe he always was, because he actually says that he had like a deja vu feeling the first time that he was visiting the hotel, like he had already been there.
It's true, and we have to assume that there's more going on than a collective psychosis. Like, there does seem to be supernatural shit happening. It's not just psychological illnesses, but I think Kubrick plays with that the entire time, and he plays with it very well.
Yeah, definitely. Fun fact, that picture at the end, they have it at the Lone Star in the hat on the back patio.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I don't know if they have it nowadays, but I remember like seeing it like years ago and just like staring at it about like, this looks, oh my God, this is from the Shining. This is like the most random thing after the showdown having the Laura Palmer picture.
Don't remind me about the showdown.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this. How many times have you seen this movie, and when was approximately the last time?
I think that this was the 5th time that I was watching it. Yeah. And I can tell you, because I actually did this exercise of trying to remember why did I watch it like so many times. So the first time that I watched it, I hated it for a reason, because it was dubbed, and the dubbing, that is funny because Kubrick supposedly used to be like really meticulous with the localization process. To every country where they were like going to be putting one of his movies dub, he would actually oversee the casting process. And he would say like, this voice sounds okay, this sound, or they don't fit exactly into what I'm looking for. And he went with a voice that is not bad, but is from a comedy actress. And it's like,
oh, I think you've told me this story.
I think that I told you that, yeah. And it's like, it's pretty hard to actually separate. Actually that actress died like some months ago, but it's pretty hard to separate the character and the movie from actually this actress, because she has like an extremely iconic voice. So it's I was like,
I'm thinking of Janice from Friends.
Exactly, yeah. Imagine that is like, hey, she's going to be like dubbing any movie, and maybe like the voice is like the right one for that role, but is that the problem is like it's so typecasted in your brain that it is impossible to actually detach from it. So for me, it was like just getting me out of the movie like completely. I remember like years later, I gave it another chance. I rewatched it and I felt it's like, nah. I mean, now I'm trying to just detach myself from the movie, from the voiceover and just like looking at the movie for what it is. And then the third time I actually watched it with one of my exes that he used to do like this with a finger. I don't know if you remember.
I do. I never put that together.
And I actually, when he used to do that, I was telling him, he's like, Donnie doesn't like that. And he didn't get like the joke that I was trying to do, so we actually watched it together, and it was the first time that I watched it in English, and I was like, this movie is way better like watching it in the original version than watching it in Spanish. And then I watched it like one more time, and this time, so 5 times.
So you're in good company. I watched an interview, this is a long time ago, not in the last few days. Spielberg, he said that even though now this is one of his all-time favorite movies, he absolutely hated it after the first time he saw it, and he said that to him it felt like kabuki theater, just like so over the top and ridiculous. And so I watched it with that lens, and yeah, like Jack Nicholson's performance is batshit insane, and so
but to be completely frank, is that they had an idea about like how they wanted like the movie to play, like the character progression. And I think that I find more scary Jack Nicholson trying to be serious and normal at the beginning of the movie than after he goes insane. Because when he goes insane, it's like, yeah, well, this is like the Joker, basically. It's like the over the top, I'm crazy, I know it, and you love it.
Do you think that had to be on purpose, right? So the scene where where he's having the job interview and he's like a normal guy, there is such a sense of menace in his performance. Like you can tell the guy is not okay.
Yeah, how he's like just completely serious, but forcing the seriousness. It's like clearly, I mean, and it's like part of the story is that we are told that there was an incident with Danny when he was drunk, and it is clear that he has always been like pushing back some thoughts and actually having in this isolation state in a cursed place. Theoretically, is like it actually triggers everything, but it's a bit more like he already had the material. He brought the material with him.
Yeah. So I asked you why or when the last time you saw it is and how many times you've seen it, because I can't remember. I've obviously seen this movie at least twice, maybe a couple other times. I remember so little about this film. Like big picture stuff, obviously I knew. Like I remembered how it ended. But like I was blown away by the scene where the mom is trying to find Danny after they escape from the bathroom, and she kind of sees a guy in a cosplay costume blowing like a butler.
Yeah. Well, I actually remember that scene, but I don't know why. I thought that there were more scenes like that about like, oh my God, they are so depraved. But no, is it the only one? I don't know, maybe it had like a different cut or something. Yeah.
I was surprised at how little I remembered it. Like if you had asked me in like our final questions, do you remember? I would say I remember big picture stuff, and that's it. Almost none of the details. I remember the iconic scenes. They're not twins, but the sisters. The sisters, yeah. Here's Johnny breaking through the door. That's about it.
Yeah, no, I remember like what it's, I think that is interesting because I remember also like part of it because of that Treehouse of Horror episode from The Simpsons when they do the how do they call it? The chime. It's like we cannot use the sign. Someone's going to say that is like something that signs. Is like, should we call it the sign? No, don't say that. That's registered terms. We call it the chime. Or the shining or something like that. They made like a joke about that, and they repeat like the main parts of the movie. That one, I think that you should watch it. Did you watch Doctor Sleep?
No, I always meant to. I heard it was good, and I was actually blown away by Danny's performance as a child actor. He's so good in this, and I thought, what else did he do? He did
nothing.
A made-for-TV movie in '82. And then nothing until Dr. Sleep, and that was it. That's it.
Yeah, but I mean, if I recall correctly, in Doctor Sleep, it's a bit more of a flashback scene. So it's like just a start from the original movie because Ewan McGregor plays his role.
That makes sense. So he just did. I'm gonna do The Shining, almost a perfect.
And Tom, I don't think that I can just ever read this. No, but I was reading that he didn't have like an interest for acting. So maybe they offered him like another role and said like, sure, whatever, it's like now I'm 8, I would do this. But probably he was like, do I want to keep doing this? Maybe he told the parents that probably the parents were like trying to push him. He was like, I don't think that I enjoy this. And for once, the parents listened to them. It was not like a Macaulay Culkin situation.
Well done.
Yeah. But yeah, the acting is pretty good. It's true that Jack Nicholson is a bit over the top, but he's an actor that he tends to be really over the top. But he's menacing the whole movie. Even
He's terrifying. The entire movie is terrifying. But you're right. It's scarier when it's beneath the surface instead of him chasing around with someone with an axe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say that I love the scenes where he's talking with the bartender, and the bartender is like completely fixed expression, you know, like not even reacting, and he's doing like the back and forth basically himself. And he does like a lot of it's almost like a Jim Carrey of sorts about like how expressive he tries to be with his face.
Yeah, he was really good. Didn't he just die like last week?
Cool.
The guy who plays the bartender.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
Some beloved character actor that never became a household name died, and I thought it was the guy who was the bartender in The Shining.
No, you make it right. Lloyd the bartender, Joe Turtle. Yeah, he died. Yeah, there we go. Well, a month ago. It's crazy. Yeah, he does like a really good like presence, almost like a David Lynch character.
Oh yeah, he would have like. Do you know who he reminded me of? The mystery man in Lost Highway.
Yeah, exactly that. I think that the casting for being such a small movie is good. The only one that I'm a bit like hesitant is the wife. I hate like the scene where she's like just running, and she's like running like this.
There was, I mean, yes.
Because there is other scenes that she's running and she runs normally, but there's like one scene that is like, look desperate, and she's like, like just running a very ridiculous kind of way. That is like, what is going on right now? Is this turning into some kind of Scooby-Doo cartoon?
So you mentioned this. They treated the woman as a helpless damsel in distress, but there was so much about this movie that was politically offensive. The mom just smoking with the doctor after her son has an episode, and then they get to the hotel, and the manager of the hotel is like, let's show her to the kitchen right now.
Yeah, let's show her something that she can understand. I mean, it was a different time, but the funny thing, I was trying to check what was like the opinion of Stephen King about the adaptation, and he hated it because he felt like the movie was misogynist and the character of the woman, that it was like just completely destroyed. And it was like, I read a book. I don't remember the mother being like the smartest tool on the box. I mean,
wasn't he kind of like a sexual sadist toward women in his books? Like people.
Usually the female characters, I don't remember them like being extra special. It's a bit more about like sexual objects or devices or torturers, like in Misery.
So I didn't read the book, but I know the ending was changed substantially. Do you think it's improved in the movie?
I think that it's indifferent, honestly. You know, the thing is, I think that Kubrick wanted to leave things like a bit ambiguous, as you said. It's like part of you may want to interpret this. I mean, if it wasn't for the power for the communication with the chef that Danny does, is that, or what you could say is like, hey, look, this is like a bit more of a collective hysteria. That is like when he talks about the room 237, it's like, oh, there is a woman. Then he goes there and he imagines that there is a woman. But it's like just because Danny imagined that, you know. But no, I mean, I think that it's like a bit more clear. The thing is, in the book, they develop like a bit more about like what exactly is the Overlook Hotel.
Oh, like it gives more context to.
Yeah. So the thing is, Doctor Sleep, it dwells more into the book, you know, about like where this is coming from, you know, like what is like, why these people have this power, why they were being haunted by these images. And it's not bad. I think that The Shining, I'm going to say I like this movie quite a bit. I think that this is a masterpiece of horror. The other one was pretty okay for what I was expecting initially.
So it must have been you who told me that Dr. Sleep was pretty good, because I didn't end up seeing it, but I had always meant to, and you're the only person I talked to, so.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's pretty good for what I expected. That is like, hey, this is a sequel to a movie that it was released like almost 40 years before this. Is that why do you need to do a sequel now? But works in being its own thing and at the same time being a homage to the original movie and also like completing the story from the book.
Also, I will say that I'm a little bit surprised that the guy who directed it wrote The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, like the one from Netflix?
Yep.
The first season of that is like it derails, but it's not bad. It's almost like just mixing up like
promising.
Yeah. It's mixing like basically like 6 Feet Under with horror.
Is The Haunting of Bly Manor, is that the next season?
Yeah, and it's not that good.
Oh, what a pity.
Yeah, and it's not that good. I agree with Salvatore. It's a bit of a joke.
Yeah, sorry about that. Squeak.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, they tried to do like something interesting with the second season, if I recall correctly, that they reuse all the actors, but they play different roles, similar to American Horror Story.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of those actors, especially that really sad, depressed young sister.
Oh, yeah.
She plays sad very well.
Yeah. And her story, I think that it was like the most interesting, from a horror perspective. So,
agreed.
Yeah. In any case, Doctor Sleep, maybe it would be interesting for just watching it in the future. I think I'm not going to be like giving away too much, but I thought that this is a pretty decent kind of thing in a genre that usually is like just exploitation of hey, give me a name, give me something that was popular 30 years ago. I can do a sequel in 2 months.
Well, I will also just come out and say I liked this movie a lot, enough that I was like, I'm definitely watching Dr. Sleep now. So I wanted to ask you, because a complaint of ours often is when a director uses music to tell the audience how to feel. And you can't deny that music plays a huge part. And it's actually excellent music. Did you recognize how much of the music they took from The Shining to make Under the Skin's soundtrack?
Oh, I didn't realize, but now that you... Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. What I was thinking is, like, as I watched A Clockwork Orange not too long ago, I just felt like some of the sound motifs, they were similar, A Clockwork Orange uses like way more Beethoven, of course, but in this you could see like the synthesizer, how they actually use it for just like distort the music and just creating like a like an easy feeling, and I think that A Clockwork Orange does a bit of that too. And I felt that, well, he had a resource that was working during that time, and it's a good one. He uses like especially, it's not like the whole time you hear like the sound effects, but no, I felt like it was good. He knew how to sift it. I would have like maybe a bit less of music, but it hasn't been detracting. I don't think that it detracted anything.
I agree. I noticed it just because I feel like the current trend is to use less music, specifically in the horror genre, and just let things kind of speak to itself. So it stood out to me, but then I was like, does it bother me? No, I think he used really interesting like percussion music and synthesizers, and it just kind of it elevated the experience, in my opinion, as opposed to, hey, this is annoying, I'm supposed to be afraid right now.
Yeah. I could say that I love the cinematography on this. I was talking with my boyfriend when we were watching, is that look, he uses a lot. I mean, it's true that when I'm pretty sure that Kubrick was thinking, like, when he was like creating a new movie, he was saying, okay, what are the resources that I'm going to be using on this movie? So it's like, if I want to transmit horror, if I want to transmit like claustrophobia, even the hotel is huge and they're in a mountain, it's like, how am I going to be like transmitting something like that? It's like a bit more like just thinking about like what I want to do, and then I'm going to be like thinking from the technical perspective how to get there. Because not all of his movies uses the same resources, and on this one, using like the camera, like just running behind them, like with Danny. A lot of those. It's not only about like when Danny is on the tricycle, is that there is like a lot of them like just walking around or just like following like this.
Doing like making dinner to their apartment.
Yeah, and it's that they're like long scenes that they could have been shorter, but it builds some uneasiness that is like, hey, he could have made it, like it's 90-80, probably at
I actually had this conversation with my husband, and I was like, I don't see a track, and these are really hard to do, like, if there's not a steady cam, but I don't think that existed in 1980.
I think that probably what it is, I mean, there is a bit of shakiness, you know, but it's like what I think is that maybe they were running after them, you know, like pretty sure. But the alternative, it would have been like with a golf cart.
Which would be pretty bumpy in itself.
Yeah, they could be like just even more bumpy than that. But I feel is that these work really well. How many times they use it. I love like the scene with Jack and Wendy when Wendy checks what he wrote. And as he starts like just walking back and the camera is like just like following from Jack's shoulder almost. I love that scene. I think that is like really, really well made, you know, about like just like what is going to happen here, like just building tension until the resolution.
I'm a firm believer that you should watch most Kubrick films on the biggest screen you can find. And I remember, so I just watched it last night, and I was like, every single shot is gorgeous. Yeah. And I was thinking specifically of, again, the interview scene, when it's just like those three guys framed,
a small room,
beautifully. Like you could tell he put so much thought into every shot, and it's annoying how perfect it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is like he's a perfectionist. It's like it's pretty clear that this was not random. Is that there is like a clear effort on everything. Is like how aesthetically he built that hotel. You know, so I don't know. The hotel exists from the outside. There used to be a hotel like that, I think.
Yeah, there still is. It's in Colorado, northwest of Denver. But the inside shots for a different hotel.
Correct. Yeah, it's a different hotel, and I'm pretty sure that probably they remade like parts of it, you know, because how the camera sometimes do the transitions is like this is mostly a studio.
Yeah, that makes sense. You could tell. Yeah, that's just the technology of 1980. Not all the sets looked super realistic, or they probably did at the time, but now everything looks.
Yeah. But like for example, when you think about like, they didn't have like the same kind of technology that we have right now, and they do this kind of gold room, like the ballroom that they have, that is gorgeous, and it actually just creates this kind of antique feeling, you know, like a Prohibition era. That I feel is like this is pretty cool that you guys like build something like this from scratch for I don't know, like 10 minutes of the movie.
And I think that Kubrick obviously has an impeccable eye for almost anything he puts in a shot, but I also think he was very lucky to create this film at a time when 70s aesthetics were firmly like coming up against 80s, but it wasn't. I don't know, it just everything was so cool, from the way people were dressed to the patterns in the carpet to the gold room to the It was not full 80s, thankfully. Right. That would have been like slightly different, I think. It still had that cool 70s look that Tarantino loves so much.
Yeah, but it didn't have like the retro-futurist stuff, you know? He didn't go like crazy on anything. Everything was like timeless from an aesthetic perspective.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, you could go to a hotel right now that it looked like that, and it would be like, this is a cool Art Deco hotel. It's like even like the room like the 237, that I think that is like the only room that they actually saw inside. Is like, this is a super cool room. It's like, I would stay, probably not with the murder woman in the shower, but besides that, it's a super cool room.
I made that exact comment to my husband last night. I was like, everything in this has come back in style. Like, this would be a cool hotel in New York right now.
Yeah. It could be, I'm going to say something. It could be what the proper hotel would like to be.
Oh, why do you love to hate the proper hotel?
Honestly, I think there is an okay hotel, you know. The only problem is like the area where he is, and that probably used to be a murder hotel back in the day.
I believe it. But now they have every time we go in there, we criticize its decor. That's what I was going to go into. Because that like aesthetic where you have like 95 frames on the wall, that was like cool 20 years ago. Anyway.
Yeah. Anything else to say, or should we go over the questions? Because I just feel like we haven't talked like too much about it.
This is a difficult film for me to like break down or critically analyze, because It's pretty simple, as I said at the beginning. What's interesting about this film is the menace that we've mentioned, the tension that Kubrick is able to build, paired with these like killer shots.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's not a complex plot. Not a tremendous amount happens. You just watch people either go insane or become haunted.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's
a great movie.
Yeah, I think there is a bit more about like how easy it looks, how he gets you into the movie, how he gets you into this world that he has depicted. And it's true that I think that that's like the main difference between The Shining and Doctor Sleep. In Doctor Sleep feels more of a world, and this like purposefully. I think that in this case is like, hey, I just want to make like this a story about like people that they are in a hotel that is cursed. But actually, Doctor Sleep tries to depict a bit more like a world, not just following
Like
a specific
more true
rules.
to the Stephen King world he built.
Yeah, I think that is like in the original book, there was like a bit more about the world, and the only thing that is like external to this is that some people have this power, the Shining, and that's it. But they don't say anything else about it. Everything else is self-contained inside of this hotel.
At the end of the book, don't some of the plants that are carved, like they're sheared to look like animals, don't they come to life?
I think so. I think that there was like some kind of this shouldn't happen, but it does.
There was a pretty famous made-for-TV version of The Shining in the 90s that I saw as like a 13 or 14-year-old, and it really messed me up. And I remember the the plant lions coming to life, but
like part of the maze.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Let's go over the questions. Could you watch it again?
Yeah, I would, and relatively soon. Like not in the next 6 months, but I would watch this a year from now.
I think that I will watch it in 6 months. Honestly, if they were like just playing it at the Music Box Theater here, for just watching it on the big screen, like just seeing like the scene of the blood like coming out of the elevator, I would like to see it on the largest screen possible. I don't know if I actually watched it at the Castro the last time.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I would like to see this on a really, really big screen.
Yeah. Would you recommend it?
Yes, almost to anyone. Probably to anyone, yes, unless it was like a child.
I think that I would recommend it to my parents. There is not too much sexual content. It's only like the woman like getting out of the shower naked, like what it looks like is a blowjob, but we never see.
Yeah,
anything.
it's not graphic. It's just hinted at.
Yeah. Would you remember it?
Yeah. Yes. The reason I hesitate is because, again, I'm surprised I forgot so much about this movie, but yeah, I could give anyone a plot synopsis of this at any point.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like most of it, I mean, there are like some parts that are a bit more silly. Remind me, who lets Jack out of the closet where he's trapped?
Delbert, who is the guy who murdered his family.
Yeah. Is there anything artistic about it?
Oh yeah, I mean, Kubrick is near perfect when it comes to direction. Like I can't ever think of anything. Oh, you should have done that. Like it's just such good direction, and the performances, of course, the music, all of it.
Yeah, I think that this is probably one of the most iconic movies ever. It's like when you actually see, and this is like what I find hilarious, is that carpet where Danny is just like rolling over, is that it's so iconic that you see like the pattern of anything, and it's like everyone that just jumps into that's the Shining. Is that I cannot think of any other movie that it would have like something like a pattern on a carpet that is so iconic. And it's not over the top. It's just like that design is perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And they are just like, after you watch The Shining, you're like, oh my gosh, every movie ever made after this references this movie, everything.
Yeah, in one way or another, yeah, definitely. So for me, it's like there are like so many things that they feel so amazing done in 1980 that it feels like so iconic, so memorable. That, yeah, I could say that the acting maybe like the one of the wife is a bit of a, as I was saying earlier, a bit ridiculous at some points. Jack Nicholson maybe like a bit over the top, but I think that they were going with, let's go be over the top here. Let's not give any kind of, like middle of the road. It's like, you're insane. You're batshit insane right now.
Yeah, and I go back and forth about whether the over the topness, whether that's just like treating women like they're dumb, or if he wanted her performance to match the over the top of Jack Nicholson.
So,
I don't know. It works, but I hear your complaint for sure.
Yeah, there is one thing that I think that is like super artistic. That is like, it was a stupid detail that when it was about to happen, it's like, yeah, listen to this. There is the first time that Danny is like going on with the tricycle around. He starts like just biking over the hardwood, and the sound is super loud, like, oh. And then he goes over a carpet. And before he goes onto a carpet, I was telling my boyfriend, he's like, just here. And it's like, he went into it, it's like, this is completely muffled. You don't hear it at this point. And it's like the contrast into this loud noise to the silence that it creates a, like uneasiness, about like what is happening, because there is no music in that I see. There is only the loud noise. And I felt is that this is memorably from an auditive perspective, and it's not because it's like John Williams in Star Wars. It's because you use sound to create an effect, and it's not about a scare jump or anything like that. It's about like just smartly powering up like the sound, like voluming it up for just like creating an easiness in contrast.
And so he used the music of a guy named Krzysztof Penderecki, and I didn't know who Penderecki was until I went to a concert of his stuff, and it's just really, it's only percussion, and it's very haunting and eerie, and it's that those drum noises that they make, like, it's like there's no melody, but like he uses music that's very uncommon to just, I don't know, everything was so good at making me feel uneasy.
Do you think that is a timeless piece?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if they had mobile phones, maybe something could change a tiny bit, but otherwise, it's like, I don't think that it really matters that much.
No, it doesn't.
Is that the same? I think that you get like the same value watching this movie in 1980, in 2020, as in 2060.
Yep, agreed.
Would you turn this into a TV show?
Okay, so my answer is yes, and only because I remember, I think that the made-for-TV version that I saw was like a mini-series. I think it was 3 2-hour episodes. I'd have to check. In my mind, it worked wonderfully. So yes, I think this could be successfully made into a television show, especially if they wanted to do more world building like you said they did in the book.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a lot more there that you could easily make into a compelling series.
That's interesting. I'm going to go with no, because I like that they actually trim. I'm pretty sure that Stephen King wanted to see like an adaptation, that they took everything. And I think that Dr. Sleep was better on taking everything, but Kubrick is more focused. And it's like, this is not so much about everything on the book. It's not, he doesn't try to follow, like, for example, like Villeneuve with Dune. That is like, I'm going to try to just fit as much as I can of all the random concepts. It's like, no. Kubrick said, it's like, hey, I like parts of this story. I like parts of these ideas. I'm going to be like taking that, everything else, like, fuck it, So I just feel like it will be like a different story. It will be like a different thing.
I hear what you're saying, and maybe my answer is no, but the answer to do you think you could adapt Stephen King's novel to a TV show? My answer is yes.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think that is like when we actually say, well, like, turn it into a TV show, I understand it a bit more about like not even the source material. I understand like the script, like materializing. But in any case, I see like the point of give me more world building, give me like more insight into this. I just feel not having more insight, it allows them to break the shackles from the Stephen King crap.
Yep,
that sometimes happen.
I agree with you. I would actually change my answer to no.
You don't have to, dude. I was just super happy to actually see us like say something different on this one. Do you think this movie could have been better?
I wouldn't dare to point out something that I think Stanley Kubrick could do better. Probably there is, but I don't know. I'm not. I'm going to say no.
The funny thing is, like, I agree with you. I mean, it's a bit more, I feel a hesitation before saying yes to this, because I mentioned earlier is that the acting of the woman is the guy's a bit of a, I don't know, it puts me off. It's like the only point that I actually just laugh out loud with the movie, where she's like just running, you know, like completely ridiculous with the knife on her hands. It's a bit more like, dude, no, you should have realized about like, this was not a good idea. It's like, this is actually pulling people away from the movie. It doesn't matter if it's 1980, 2000, or 1950. It's like, that's ridiculous. There is no feeling of urgency.
The specific scene you're mentioning, but when she gets Danny out of the bathroom window, but she stays because she can't get out, and she's doing this. It's like somebody drew a Warner Brothers cartoon, and she's all like, ah! And that was the one scene where I was like, okay, dial it back just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only part that I would say is like, look, maybe there is something here that you were trying to go for, and with time it got lost, you know, because it's like, I see the kid and I'm impressed with the kid. Is that we were discussing it the whole time. It's like, oh my god, is that normally child actors, they're going to be or really over the top or really obnoxious. Is that this is perfect. It's unbelievable. 6-year-old, you know, like going through something like pretty traumatic and having like a creature inside him, like telling him what and what not to do. And it's like, this is the most believable, like compared with the other two, it's like this is the most believable one. Jack Nicholson over the top. What was the name of the actress? Shelley Duvall. A bit, I don't know how to say, ridiculous, you know. And I feel like he did amazing. Danny Lloyd. I also love that is that Jack Nicholson plays Jack Torrance and Danny Lloyd plays Danny Torrance.
That makes things easier for a child actor, I feel like.
I call him Jack. Like he call his father, no, or dad.
Side note, Shelley Duvall has descended into madness in her old age. I'm pretty sure she's deeply, deeply schizophrenic, and Dr. Phil brought her on his show as basically a freak show. Hey, remember this celebrity? Now she believes the government's putting microchips in her brain. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that was like a fun fact per se, but you know.
It's a side note, not a fun
It's a side note. Okay, thank you. Okay, so those were all the questions. That before we score, I'm going to be asking you what you remember. I remember which one you asked me. What did you remember about Another Round?
Okay, so that's funny because I thought it was my turn to ask you, and Another Round was one that I was going to ask.
No, you asked last week about like the killing of two adults. Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest, I don't remember a ton. I remember that it was a group of Danish high school teachers, right? Or middle school teachers.
I think that they're high schoolers. Yeah, they're high school. Yeah, remember the end.
Awesome. Yeah. So they read the writings of a real Danish philosopher who believes there is an ideal blood alcohol content, and I think it was, I'm not going to say a number, but it was like 0.5 or something. So this group of teachers decide to do it, and alcohol affects each of their lives differently, and one guy, even instead of decreasing like the rest of the group, increases.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I got.
No, I think that you're right. And one of them goes into a spiral of drinking, and he cannot stop afterwards. At the beginning, it's all like fun and games, you know, and then it basically ends up like with the funeral and the graduation of the kids, and we see them like just partying, like the teachers with them. That there is like this dance number of what is the name of the guy? Hilliger? No, the actor. Mickelson. Yeah. That he started like just dancing on a pier in a very crazy way. That is like this insane. Now they actually, I mean, I think that you remember like quite a bit of it. You know, I didn't like remember like the beginning about like this because of this study that they do, and they start like just drinking. So that's pretty good. And there used to be like a rumor about we are going to do a remake, an American remake, and Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be like the main one.
Oh, I remember that because it got all this awards attention, and then I don't think that was ever a real thing, but it was definitely like a myth surrounding the film.
Yeah, I don't know how could it go, but yeah. Should we score then the signing?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one to score. This was your pick, so
Yep.
I have to score first. I mean, it's no La Ventura, but I'm going to say a 9?
Okay. My score is an 8.5.
Oh, wow. I thought
Yeah.
I was going to like this less than you did.
No, I like it, but it's like those small details that they just pull me out of the movie, they piss me off a lot, you know. And I also understand like the idea about like just making like a smaller movie, and I think that it works for it. But I also, when I saw Doctor Sleep, and we should watch it for the podcast, I just felt it's like this movie would have never existed with The Shining, and it's almost like when you have like some software, like an app on your phone or something, and they release like a patch for it. They release like the second version, and there's like this version now is good, but it would have never existed without the first one. The first one is the one that it brought the value to the table, and this one builds upon it, and it improves in some areas. In some others, it's like sure, whatever, but it's an interesting exercise what they do. And I felt like some things I wish that they had been on the first one, on The Shining.
Well, so it's my pick to choose what we watch next.
It's your pick. What are you going to pick? Do you want to go with Doctor Sleep?
I mean, I was going to pick Nope, and you were going to pick Nope next week. So we can either watch Nope.
I'm down. No, I'm down. Let's watch Doctor Sleep. I want to watch Doctor Sleep.
Okay,
Now after
Sleep.
Yeah. We may or may not want to do like a double feature and actually talk about both of them back to back, but the audience will never know that happened.
All right, we'll see.
So let's see Doctor Sleep for now.
I love Ewan McGregor.
He's so dreamy.
He is dreamy. He's very dreamy.
Yeah, he's not my type, but it's like just seeing him smiling, Moulin Rouge. He's like, he just melts my heart.
My husband is watching one of the Star Wars TV shows, and I'm not, but I saw him on the screen, and I was like, oh, I could watch this for a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That they were doing like an Obi-Wan Kenobi one, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like baby Leia that he's protecting. I saw a short.
I don't watch like these shows, but they were doing The Mandalorian. That is basically Oscar Isaac, I think that is the one with the mask. It's like he's protecting like a baby Yoda, and now is Ewan McGregor protecting baby Leia. So it's like it's a bit more of a new paradigm. It's like a Star Wars. It has been turned into Star Babies.
At some point, you'll have to make me watch the original Star Wars since I've never seen them.
But you know that I'm not a big fan of Star Wars. I mean, I would make you watch it, but
Oh, I thought you liked that one. No? Oh.
I like Star Trek. Star Wars is like, sure, yeah, I will watch it. I just feel like when I watched it the first time, it was a bit more like the charm of being little watching it. And it's like, oh my God, this is so magical. And then when you grow up, it's like, oh my God, this is a rip-off of so many other things that they already existed just for selling merchandise. Good job, George Lucas. So I think there is a bit more, people love that movie because it represents like the process of growing up, watching it with your parents and just connecting, like with them through it.
That makes sense. It's probably why.
And merchandise. It's like you connect with your family through
I grew up with it. I mean, I watched it with my sister all the time.
Okay, no, that's fair. Anything else to say about The Shining?
Just go see it. It's such a good movie. Every time I watch a Kubrick movie, I'm like, oh yeah, he was a master.
So Barry Flynn, yes?
So what?
What is it like Barry Flynn, no? Barry Flink.
Oh, it's like the one of his movies I haven't seen. Barry Lyndon.
Oh, Barry Lyndon, sorry, no, Barry Flynn. Yeah. Flink, it was.
I actually own it. Not to brag, but MGM sent me the entire Kubrick collection on Blu-ray.
I was the one like many years ago. And I think that I had already watched The Shining and some others of his movies, and I was like, let's just watch The Shining again. But it's a period piece.
Park and Shortcuts, Robert Altman. I feel like that was Kubrick's attempt to be that director.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, to everyone listening to us, thank you so much for putting up with us.
Wash your hands, I guess.
I guess or not, whatever. Just lick them. What does it matter at this point? Okay, bye.